What's the most selfish way someone has ever been kicked out of a family gathering? Ever since I married into my girlfriend's family, Christmas dinner is always a mix of politeness and silent chaos. Sarah's parents host every year, her brother Luke gets tipsy by 4 p.m., and her cousin Megan finds a way to bring up student loans before dessert. Pretty standard. This year though, Sarah's husband Ethan brought something new to the table, a mason jar. At first I thought it was for leftovers, but right in the middle of dinner he pulls it out, scribbles Ethan's emergency fund on a napkin, tapes it to the jar, and drops in a dollar bill like he's kickstarting his own GoFundMe. The room went quiet. Patricia, Sarah's mom, stared at him like he'd just pulled out a grenade. Ethan smiled. Since everyone's gonna complain about money anyway, I figured I'd get ahead of it. Right on cue, Luke started grumbling about his mortgage payment. Ethan jumped up, rattled the jar in his face, and yelled, "Donation needed!" Luke rolled his eyes, but tossed in a quarter. That quarter was gasoline on a fire. Ethan's eyes lit up. See? Proof of concept. Then Megan sighed about her loans, and Ethan was ready. He pulled out his phone, typed for 30 seconds, and printed out the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, an official receipt from something called Ethan's Crisis Response Services. It had a sad face logo he'd drawn in pen. He handed it to her mid-sentence. "Congratulations, you qualify for the bronze package. That's one nod and a sympathetic sigh. For silver, you get eyebrow raises and a shoulder pat. Gold comes with verbal reassurance. Ask about platinum." Everyone just stared. Patricia whispered to Robert, "Why did Sarah marry this man?" Sarah kicked Ethan under the table hard enough that the silverware rattled, but he grinned like he'd just invented Uber. And then Grandpa Dennis mentioned his hip surgery. The second the word surgery left his mouth, Ethan lost his mind. He jumped out of his chair, arms in the air, and shouted, "Jackpot! We've got a platinum tier complaint!" He started sprinting around the table, waving the jar like a trophy. "This qualifies for Platinum Plus. Sustained eye contact, multiple head shakes, and 3 versions of 'That's terrible.'" Dennis just blinked at him while still holding his dinner roll. Sarah's face was crimson. The rest of us were caught between laughing and wondering if this was how cults started. Then Ethan asked Dennis if he wanted to pay up front or use the convenient payment plan. That was it. Patricia stood up and pointed at the door like a referee ejecting a player. Robert was already grabbing Ethan's coat, but Ethan didn't go quietly. He turned to us, jar in hand, and yelled, "This family has no vision! I've raised $47 tonight!" Luke had tears streaming down his face from laughing. Megan kept saying, "Is this real life?" Sarah just hid her face in her hands. And then the most surreal thing happened. Patricia called for a family vote. Right there at the table. The options were keep Ethan or remove Ethan. It was unanimous. Ethan was out. They escorted him to the driveway like he was a drunk guest at a wedding. From inside, we could hear him mumbling about tiered subscriptions and Venmo QR codes. The rest of dinner was tense. Patricia tried to reset the mood by serving pie, but Sarah was too busy apologizing to every relative in the room. Dennis muttered something about platinum tier nonsense while buttering his roll. By the time we left, Sarah hadn't said a single word to Ethan. She didn't say anything in the car either. The next morning, I got a text from Luke with a photo. Ethan on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, eating cold pizza straight from the box, with his mason jar sitting proudly on the coffee table. Total earnings, $47 and a button someone must have thrown in as a joke. He really did get kicked out of Christmas with a profit. The last thing I heard him say before we left was, "Next year I'm launching a subscription plan.